you said that if people click a couple links in the email course to get the course, the next email early, you basically will send that and they say, hey, you're super into this. Here's our paid course, right? You kind of give it early. Now, what are some other segmentation that you would recommend?
I call it the who question. And it's a question that allows you to identify like the sub audiences or the like different type of personas within your bigger audience. The questions that we were asking were, what type of business do you have? Are you an agency owner? Are you a freelancer? Are you a creator? Are you a solopreneur? Then what's your biggest goal for being more productive, right? Like, do you want to scale your business and like make, I don't know, 7 figures?
So for those listening, Daniel's been kind of like online Twitter, LinkedIn friends for what, like 2-3 years now or something. He runs, he's part of the Ship 30 team, which is an amazing program. Highly recommend it for anyone that's wanting to get started on online writing. I've taken it before. It actually influenced me to start Brand 30. So amazing program. And Daniel's like, you started as like the automation guru there, no? And like, what kind of stuff are you working on right now? Just because you're very savvy, bro.
Yeah, man. I'm a Swiss Army knife. Well, that's how we that's how we like to joke internally. But it's funny because full transparency, when I first I've been involved in Ship 30 for 30 in some shape or form from the very, very beginning. So it's been almost 3 years now. So initially, I participated in the very 2 original cohorts, and as a student, right? Like I really enjoyed it. I had fun. I kind of fell in love with the community and with the whole idea. And from there, I essentially cold DM my way into the team. And back then, my skill set wasn't nearly close what it is today. Obviously, I still have a number of things to learn, but like the growth has been substantial since then. But all of this to say that initially, I had no clue what Zapier was, what automation was. Like I was just winging it and tried to create opportunities for myself. And so it was actually a few months into working with the Ship 30 for 30 guys, Dicky and Cole, that I was essentially forced to start automating things because I didn't have more hours in the day to keep up with all the stuff that we had to do. And so that's how I discovered Zapier. That's how I, for a while, became the Zapier guru because I've started also sharing like the things that I was learning and automating in the business. But yeah, nowadays, I like to think of myself as the guy who takes care of everything behind the scenes so that Dicky and Cole can just show up to the live sessions, write content, create content, and teach and share their knowledge, right? And I do everything else so they can just focus on doing that.
Hell yeah. I mean, and a lot's going on there. And I want to ask you, like, point of this is I want to get really deep in the lead magnets with you, man. And so, like, I think what caught my eye with you is I think on Twitter you posted something like, oh, I created a lead magnet for a client. I think you mentioned that you charge them like 10 grand to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm like, we need to charge more for distribute, which helps, creators and solopreneurs make lead magnets. You mentioned that lead magnet, I think I created this person like 300K in revenue so far, something like that. Right. And so I want to just start from zero with you, man. Like from the very beginning, like why lead magnets? We can get into everything, right? But like why lead magnets? What made you get started helping build these out on the side for people? What's your take on the best kind of lead magnets? Let's just go deep. I think that would be great, dude.
Awesome. Let's do it. Yeah. I love to geek out on all things like lead magnets and email marketing too. So if you're listening to this and you're looking to kind of level up your email marketing game, you're in for a treat. Yeah. But going back to my point from earlier where we were talking about skills, right? Like in this process, last almost 3 years of working at Ship 30 for 30, one of those skills that I've built is not just automation in general, like when it comes to business ops, but also automation in the context of email marketing. And when I combine kind of that skill set and all of that knowledge that I was learning with my interest for copywriting, which was what initially led me to join Ship 30, that kind of took me on a path to experiment with new things. And so earlier this year, I launched like small agency with my wife as an experiment doing...
Oh, amazing, bro, with your wife. We'll get into that too, like launching someone with your wife. Yeah, I think me and my wife would kill each other, but yeah.
Oh, good. It's definitely not for the lighthearted, but it's a challenge. But yeah, so earlier this year, we launched this agency as an experiment. And since then, we've worked with a couple interesting clients. It's specialized in, as I said, in creating lead magnets, but also a very specific type of lead magnet, which is email courses. The reason why I picked this type of lead magnet is because I was able to see firsthand how it was such a game changer for Ship 30 for 30. Because essentially, like, obviously, Dick and Cole are amazing writers, and they have been able to build huge followings and generate a lot of traffic on social media, and like primarily LinkedIn and Twitter. But then what they do have that a lot of other big creators don't have is an engine to turn that attention from social into like actual raving fans, paying customers that then join their programs, right? Like in that engine, at least on the front end, and we can get into the specifics in a minute, but at least on the front end, the front end part of the engine is the email course. Right. So I was able to see firsthand how powerful the system was. Once I knew how to build those systems, thanks to working with them, I decided to give this idea a try. And that's what we've been doing. And luckily, we've been able to generate some amazing results for some clients, as you were alluding to earlier. But yeah, that's kind of the backstory.
Nice. Okay, so email course lead magnets. That's interesting. Where do you start with that, bro? Like, how do you start with what to decide as an email course? Let's start there. Like, how do you decide on what to do with, what
Perfect. That I think that's an amazing question. Although I would, before answering that, I'll take a step, like one additional step back, and answer the question of why an email course in the first place, right? Like it might be easy to assume, especially for me, because I'm so like in the weeds these days. It might be easy to assume that people know what an email course is. So I want to define that first. An email course.
Love it.
Right? So an email course is essentially a drip sequence. But what's interesting though is that you're using a drip sequence and you're combining that with kind of a specific time frame, like 5 days, 7 days. It's usually a short time frame, and you're using that drip sequence to educate people on a very specific topic or problem and help them like get a very quick but substantial win, right? Like, so I help them solve a real world problem that they're experiencing, right? Like ideally, all lead magnets should do that. Not all of them do, of course, but that's kind of the definition of an email course. Now,
yeah. In one sec there, I'll butt in. And why I like email courses specifically, I've done one for one of my courses, Brand 30. It was on how to do LinkedIn well or something like that, right? And because mine's very LinkedIn specific. And why I like it is because you can daily or every other day or however you do it, like get in front of people. Whereas opposed to like a regular course where they have to go find their sign in, find their login, and then go in and then figure out what to do. So it seeds it to them every single day and shows up in their inbox, which is amazing. So they can take like one nugget at a time, which is actually how people learn these days, like the best way to learn, right? Versus give me a shit ton of, like stuff and then figure it out on my own. So yeah, just saying from my perspective, why I personally love as the end user of an email drip course, why I like it, right? Because it's not like, oh, I have to go through 3 hours of stuff. It's like, no, you'll get this stuff every day for 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, whatever. So it's amazing, bro. It's amazing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That's actually, you're answering the question for me. So that was the first.
Yeah. So I jumped ahead, dude. I jumped ahead. Yeah.
No, but I love it because that's actually the first reason. Like when you compare an email course with other vehicles, like, the classic is like the ebook or the PDF, right? Like it's a bunch of information all in one document. Like it's so overwhelming to do the same thing. I usually download the freebie whenever I'm curious. I see all of the information. I get overwhelmed. Best case scenario, like I skim through it and maybe I find a couple golden nuggets. More often than not, I just close the file and never open it again in my computer, collecting digital dust. Right?
Yeah. Oh, digital dust. I love that. Yes. That's good. I love it. Yeah.
So I think that's the first reason, right? Like the email course by definition makes the content way more digestible compared to other types of lead magnets. I think the other reason that I think makes the email course very powerful is that by making the content digestible and dripping it out in a 7-day, 5-day, 10-day, whatever number of days sequence, you're also training people to open your emails, right? Compare that to a weekly newsletter where you're only sending one email per week throughout a long period of time, basically you're taking way longer to create that goodwill and that trust because you're only sending one valuable email per week versus the lead magnet. You're sending 5, 7, 10 emails, super valuable emails, one after another. By the time people finish your email course, damn, like I don't want to miss end this email never again, right? Because I already know they're super valuable.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like a lot of people right now are tripped up on creating a newsletter. And I will say, bro, like newsletters are great. I'm at like 27K. This podcast is going to go out to those 27K, and there hopefully people are back. Wow, let me try the email courses, right? With that though, like newsletters are hard, right? Because it's once a week. It's hard for people to build the habit once again of opening your email, right? If there's one off week, like your newsletter isn't good 1 week, then the next week you decrease your chances of them opening, again. So I do like that email course of building a relationship day by day with high value content quickly, right? Quickly. And it's funny because it's the new shiny object thing, newsletters, right? It's like a hot thing right now. People are kind of missing other ways to capture emails and build that relationship. The goal of this email course is still to upsell people, right? Like you're still giving them something free. So I want to get into that with you. Like these email, maybe we should hold off on that until you think we should talk about something different. But the point of every email is you're still sliding in an upsell, like in the PS line or something, right? That's like the obvious thing. Are there other obvious things that like these email courses are providing besides, like the email every day that you see? I mean, it's ultimate goals upsell, but yeah.
Definitely. I agree. I think I do have some like very strong opinions in terms of how to use email courses as a way to generate those sales, because that's, as you're saying, that's the holy grail, right? Like that's what we all ultimately want, obviously. Yeah. But let me close it up with the last reason why I think email courses are very powerful. In that reason or that kind of point, actually, it's a perfect segue to the monetization part. If you download if you're using a PDF or an ebook or any other type of file as your lead magnet, and let's say you have there is a super engaged reader that actually reads your thing and doesn't let the file collect digital dust in their computer. There's no way for you as the creator of the lead magnet to know that engagement is taking place because that's just a file in someone's computer. But if you're using an email course instead, every click, there's different mechanisms, there's different ways for you to track those people's engagement with your lead magnet, and then do segmentation and other like fun revenue generating stuff based on that data.
Let's get into that. Like teach me, Daniel, because so you mentioned segmentation. So like, what are your strategies here?
Okay, I'll give you like, before getting too in the weeds into segmentation, which I'm happy to, but I'll give you like an easy example. You don't even need to do segmentation to do some of this stuff. For instance, one thing that we do at Ship Theory that I do with my clients when I build email courses for them is that I usually include a link at the bottom of the email course as a PS almost. I give people the ability to get the next lesson in advance if they want to. It's an automation thing, but from the user perspective, it's very cool because even though you are dripping out the content, some people are also very eager and they want to just binge it. And so when you do something like that, what we do on the back end is we're tracking how many times someone is clicking one of those give me the next email links. And based on the number of times they are clicking one of those links, they click more than twice, objectively say, okay, this person is very engaged. They are binging the course. And based on that behavior, we then trigger another automation that sends them an email saying, hey, like I just noticed you're flying through this. I think you might enjoy this other thing that we created, usually a paid product. And since I see you're so committed to learning this new thing, here's a discount to help you out as a thank you for signing up.
Oh, and so smart.
Based on a few clicks, we can objectively separate like who's more engaged in the segment, if you will, or in the email list. And then based on those behaviors, offer those people who are more engaged other special offers that maybe everyone else doesn't get.
That's pretty genius, man, because like the problem I have, like being super out, I'm just like leaving it to chance. I'm like, PS, here's a link to the paid product. Like I have no I'm not tracking the link clicks and then saying like, oh, this person's objectively engaged. So, and it makes total sense, right? If they're super into it, your odds of getting them to get your paid is probably way higher, right? And so
Totally.
that's interesting, man. So you're doing that, and you're doing all this through ConvertKit, right? Like that's how you're through ConvertKit.
Yeah, right. Like I've built it for a couple other clients in using like other systems like Kartra and other like email marketing tools, but ConvertKit is my favorite one. Is the one that I specialize in. If you want to, we can also like, I think this is the perfect segue into monetization and kind of my frameworks and opinions there. Do you want to do that?
Please. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah, I'd love to hear all this.
Cool. So at the beginning of the session, one of the questions you asked was, okay, how do you even go about, deciding what to make the email course about and whatnot? So the reason why I bring this up is because my team and I are very intentional about the topic that we make our email courses about. We basically are strategic about the topic, and we pick the topic so that the person who's reading it can get a win. We help them solve a problem, but it's not just any kind of problem. It's basically, we basically ask ourselves first, what's the problem that the paid offer that we are eventually trying to plug and get people to buy solves, right? Like what's the value proposition of that paid offer that we're gonna eventually pitch people on? And then we kind of reverse engineer the lead magnet based on that, because here's the logic. So imagine paid offer helps people gets a 6-pack app. Then we ask ourselves, okay, what's an earlier problem that someone who wants to get 6-pack apps needs to get solved before they can even worry about that? Because if we can help someone fix or solve that problem, then they're gonna trust us. They're gonna be thankful and feel kind of the law of reciprocity. They're gonna feel like compelled to somehow thank us for helping them solve that initial problem. And then if we can on top of that offer them the solution to the very next problem that they're gonna experience, which is getting that 6-pack apps, they're gonna be like, damn, of course I'm gonna obviously if I have the means to buy your thing, I'll probably buy it. That's the framework. Yeah. So we kind of take a step back, think about the problem that we solve with our paid offer, right? Like the one we're gonna plug at the end of the email course or throughout the email course. We very clearly define and articulate the problem and the benefit of that paid offer. Then based on that, we say, okay, what's the earlier problem that someone needs to solve before even worrying about that? So that, right? So we can help them solve that problem. And then whenever they're done with the email course, it's a no-brainer for them to then buy our thing.
Yeah, it's like we actually did this. This is how we scaled Taplio, actually, like a SaaS that we built, which was we actually use lead magnets to get end users. And so what we did is, for example, Taplio helps you schedule LinkedIn posts basically with automation, right? And AI in the platform to help you generate all these posts, curate posts, blah, 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 blah. So what we did is what we noticed is people want to post carousels. And so we were like, oh, we could generate a carousel. We could create a carousel software product, right? And that's our deliveries. We deliver a piece of software, and that software product is a free carousel generator. Because guess what? After they're done generating a carousel, guess what we did? We said, hey, you want to schedule this, right? It's the next problem that you're going to have. And Hormozy went into this in his lead magnet mastery thing too, right? Which is obviously he articulates it really well, which is part of his superpowers. But yeah, it was like the problem before the big problem you're trying to sell, right? So what's a problem you can help solve for free that builds that trust level where they're like, hey, okay, I look at it as like a series of small yeses, right? When everyone's going to buy your shit, it's like, especially in today's world that's super saturated, is how can you become the master of getting a bunch of small yeses from people? That's the way I think about it. And it's like, it could be free email courses, free software product, lead magnets, right? Like all this free stuff. And I think that's the message that a lot of people, that's not talked about enough, which when we say oh, give away your stuff for free, people don't talk about the why enough, right? And the why is because you're trying to build that trust level with people. And it's not like you're going to give away your main product for free. No, you're giving away a bunch of stuff for free. That way you already have the trust to actually sell something of a monetary value, right? Now, my question to you is, how how often should you be creating these different email courses? Right, I guess is a question. Like,
That's
what's
a
your
great
thoughts
question.
on
It's actually one of the beautiful things about the email course, that if you get it right and you like put the, you think through and have the right strategy behind it, it's almost like a set in stone asset that, I'll give you a concrete example. The Ship 30 for 30 email course. We haven't really updated that email course in like more than 18 months, and it's still printing money. Right? It works. And it's evergreen. The only thing that we do is whenever we are like on a launch period, because by the nature of the product, the product is a cohort-based course. We have like different cohort start dates throughout the year, and therefore we also have like specific launch periods throughout the year. Because of the nature of the product, we sometimes, when we're doing like live FOMO campaigns and stuff like that, we pause like the sales component of the email course, if you will, during that period. But the rest of the year, the email course is just working, right? And obviously, we've also created other email courses for other offers and other products that we have also created. But it's really up to you. I would say, like, if you get it right, you can get your email course working like forever after a couple iterations, and it just works. But also, you can also kind of combine that strategy with doing other sort of smaller drops that help you grow your list, funnel even more people into the system, and so it continues to run, right, and generate sales.
Yeah, let's get into that. Like, how do you drive traffic to this thing? Is it just through like social media posts, or like how are you getting people to give you their email to get in the course?
The savvy thing to do, the wise thing to do is, if you have these super effective asset, instead of plugging your newsletter, for example, everywhere, you just focus on driving your traffic from social media to this asset, right? And then what a lot of people don't understand is that at the end of the day, obviously not everyone who goes through the email course will buy your paid stuff. And those people who do not buy your paid stuff will just be dripped into your newsletter, and they're just going to continue to receive those emails that you publish every week, right? Like, you're going to continue to nurture them. But so either way, people are going to end up in your email list and getting your newsletters. The difference is, if you have this super effective system with a way more value prop on the front end, you're also getting more email subs, right? Because again, from a user perspective, if you compare the value proposition of a newsletter to an email course that's helping you solve a super specific problem in a super short time frame, compared to, I'll send you one email per week on this topic that's interesting. Which one, right? Which one converts better? Probably the email course. But to answer your question, we drive most of our traffic from social to the email course. The email course does its work. And then whoever doesn't buy after going through the email course, we just add those people to our newsletter, and those people continue to be nurtured with our weekly emails, right? Until eventually they buy.
Nice.
And to complement that real quick, and whenever we do like other viral lead magnet drops, we deliver that lead magnet, and then we also say, hey, by the way, if you don't know, we also have like this super valuable email course that you might be interested in. Here's how to sign up, right? And we kind of, once people are in the email list, we can also kind of cross promote those different assets.
Yeah, because you have their email now, so you can work on that, which sounds like interesting. So, and then one thing you mentioned, Daniel, within this was, you said that if people click a couple links in the email course to get the next email early, you basically will send that, and then you can say, hey, you're super into this. Here's our paid course, right? You kind of give it to them early. Now, what are some other segmentation things that y'all are doing, right? Like, that you would recommend? Because this is interesting, because I haven't heard many people talk about this part, right? Like, I'm curious to see how you segment.
I'm glad you asked. Because this is
you're ready. You're like, okay, I've got an answer for you.
It's a fascinating topic that I really like to talk about. And I think you're right. Like, a lot of people, either aren't doing this, or if they are not being very loud about it. But the way we do it, and the way I do it with my clients, is right after someone opts in for one of our email courses, we send them to a thank you page, right? And a little insider baseball thing that a lot of big players don't tell you is your thank you page is super, super valuable real estate, because that's in the next, the immediate next thing that someone sees right after they make that little bet and that little decision of giving you their email, right? And so we leverage that real estate to ask people a couple questions. And we basically include there what I call a segmentation survey. And it's doesn't have to be like super fancy. It's usually 3 or 4 questions that I like to ask. The questions are usually, what's your biggest goal in the context? Like imagine in your example of brand theory, what's your biggest goal when it comes to building an audience on LinkedIn, right? Or your biggest reason for building an audience on LinkedIn. Then the second question is, what's your biggest struggle when it comes to building your audience on LinkedIn? And then the last question that we ask that kind of varies, or you have to frame it a little bit differently depending on your paid offer and like the context of the offer. But it's basically, I call it the who question. And it's a question that allows you to identify like the sub audiences or the like different type of personas within your bigger audience. So in your example, it might be like, are you a solopreneur? Are you a SaaS founder? Right? Like you're trying to identify what type of person that subscriber is. Then we use a very nice tool called Write Message. Shout out to Write Message. And we can to create the survey, right? And then with what Write Message does that is super, super handy and convenient is it sends that data from the survey directly to your ConvertKit account or your email marketing account or tool, right? And then you can leverage that data to personalize the emails that you're sending at scale. And so you see, I'll give you an example from one of the client that you referenced earlier in the conversation. So that one of the reasons we've been able to, in my opinion, see such results with this client is because even though he has a very like broad offer, he essentially has a productivity course that teaches a lot of different people how to, reduce the number of hours they're working and make more money in their business. But that's pretty broad, right? Like, and so one of the things that we did to make the whole system more effective was we included this segmentation survey. We capture all of this data, by the way, like it's like 50 to 60% of new subscribers who actually take the time to respond to the survey. So we have data from a good chunk of people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that. How many people actually do it? Yeah.
Real quick to speak to that. The reason why a lot of people fill it out is because of the way we frame it. It's not like, here's a survey, more work to you. No, it's like, and it's genuine, right? Like the way I frame it is, can you please take 30, 60, 90 seconds to answer a few questions, quick questions? And if you do take the time to answer these questions, this will help me know what kind of, what are you struggling with, get a better sense of how I can better help you and personalize the content that I send you based on that. Right. So it's the framing that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about exactly. And then different email marketing tools have like different ways of doing this, but what you're doing with this data is essentially adding like dynamic content to each email, right? You're basically adding like logic that says if the subscriber said X thing on the survey, show them this piece of this content, or if they didn't say this other thing, show them this other thing. It's basically the same copy but personalized based on the response to the survey, and we add those snippets, like those personalized snippets throughout the email course, and especially throughout the sales emails that we send folks after the email course. And so when we start to pitch the paid offer, like the email that you get feels like it was made to you, it was written to you, because it's like, again, an example of my client. So the questions that we were asking were, what type of business do you have? Right? Like, and so we ask, Are you an agency owner? Are you a freelancer? Are you a creator? Are you a solopreneur? Then what's your biggest goal for being more productive, right? Like, do you want to scale your business and like make, I don't know, 7 figures? Or do you want to just work less so you can spend more time with your family? Stuff like that, right? And then what's your biggest struggle? Same thing. We gave them like different options based on the data that we had and the struggles and the goals that my client already knew his audience wants to get and solve. And then when we had that data on our end, like on the email marketing tool, and when you read the email that you're receiving, it says like, since you're an agency owner, right? Obviously, as long as that person said they're an agency owner, since you're an agency owner and you're struggling with this, and this, here's this product that's going to help you solve exactly the problem that you have, right? And we're able to position the paid offer that it's actually quite broad in the messaging, right? Like the offer is actually quite broad, but since we have that data and we have it in our conversion account, we're able to at scale and automatically personalize the messaging based on what they said on the survey, and the email felt like it was written to them.
Yeah, which at the end of the day increases your conversion rates on sending out those email offers, right? Interesting. So you're not going in and just blasting everyone in your list and saying, "Hey, like, you want to buy this?" You're saying, "No, let me get all the founders versus all the salespeople versus all the thing," and then writing a unique message. Maybe you're just changing a few things, but you're writing a unique message to each of those people. What do you do with the people that don't fill out the survey? They get a whole nother, I guess they're
they get like the broader, the standard version of the sales sequence that's by definition like a little bit more vague and tries to appeal to different, because you're essentially guessing, right? Like, what's their biggest problem? Right? But that's what we do. But again, like I was very surprised because a lot of people fill out the survey actually. So
that's great. I mean, because they've already given you again the small yes, right? They've already said yes to this, and so the likelihood of them filling out is much higher. Most newsletters, I will say, besides my own newsletter, most newsletters are kind of like vanilla. I would say, like, because they're very hard to entertain people for a whole email. Like, is very freaking hard. I mean, I've spent like over a year trying to perfect this, right? And still my open rate's like 40%, like on some if I'm lucky, right? And like it's freaking hard, man. It is not easy. So I feel like we're definitely in a bubble with that. I know this is a whole nother topic with the newsletter thing, but I feel like it's going to be the best of the best will
totally
own the newsletter.
I agree.
And then the rest, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe some companies will do it, but that'll fall flat, I think. But not to be a pessimist, but it's just having been in the weeds. Not having been in the weeds, it's freaking hard, man. It's like a very hard thing. And this is why I would say, like, I would tell people, man, like, do an email course first.
I think you're right. Like, a lot of people underestimate how much work and how much of a skill and a muscle it is to write a newsletter consistently every week for a long period of time, right? Versus writing 5, 6, 7 emails out of the gate that are very good and that will essentially work for you for a long time because it's an automated sequence that as long as people are subscribing, they're gonna get it. And the way I think about it is, imagine you have a company, right? Like, you have like a sales team. Imagine you are able to automate your best salesperson and make it so it's available to work and educate people on your product 24/7, 365. That's essentially what an email course is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Now, okay, this brings up another question that I have, which is, how long should the email course be? 7 days, 14 days, 30 days? And it's a depends answer, of course, right? But like, what's kind of your reasoning for the different lengths?
I would say it should take as long as as you need to help people achieve the outcome or get that win that you're looking to help them achieve or get, right? So going back to the example of the Six Packs app, like, if the win, okay, let's pretend that the win that you're helping people achieve is understand how many calories a day they should be eating. Fake example, right? If you only need 2 emails to provide that win to people, it should only be 2 emails. You don't need to do like 10, 20 emails just for the sake of doing 10 or 20 emails. Like it should be as long as you need to in order for you to help that people get that small win that you need for them to then say, okay, I'm ready to solve the next problem. Help me solve that next problem.
I love that. Dan. Yeah. It's a really good point, because when I think email courses, I'm like, yeah, hit them with 20 emails, when people like, but more emails better, right? Like maybe people think that, who knows? But no, that makes sense. Is like how long it takes to actually get the win, which is interesting. And then that's a good way to position it too, is like, what's the win? What's the big benefit they're going to get when they're done with this? Like, what can they go solve now? Right. Which is freaking awesome, or feel confident in doing, because you may not necessarily you may not like change their tire on their car, but make them feel more confident to like go get in the driver's seat, right, of whatever that may be. So amazing, man. Well, shoot, I like trying to keep this to about 45 minutes, which we're at, but like what's kind of something that we didn't mention about email courses and lead magnets that maybe like people should know, or did we cover it?
I think I have one more thing that I'd like to share that I think it's very tactical, but it can also be like very helpful for someone who's trying to implement this stuff.
Yes, please, man.
Cool.
Please.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I'm learning too as we talk. So yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it. So
yeah,
as you know, when you're trying to sell something, no matter what you're trying to sell, one of the most important variables there in the kind of the sales process is how do you create urgency, right? And so considering that for most people, an email course is like this evergreen asset. Remember you asked me, okay, how many of these do you need? Like, and my answer was like, if you do it right, like this thing can work for you forever, essentially. Now, if it's working forever, the trickier question that maybe more advanced folks ask themselves was, okay, but if it's evergreen and it's working forever, and it's essentially, how the hell do I create urgency with the email course so people take me up on my offer of the pay thing, right? And so there is a very powerful tactic that we've been using with this tool called Deadline Funnel, which is, okay, I'll introduce the problem first. So you're sending emails, right? Like people sign up for your email course, they receive the whole thing. I think Distribute could be a good example of that, because it's a product that anyone can sign up for at any time, right? So imagine you have your email course for Distribute, you educate people on the value you provide, you help them solve a quick problem, then hey, by the way, I also have all of these amazing features. If you want to sign up, here's how to do that. How do you create urgency for a product like that? Especially when, again, anyone can sign up at any time. There is it's not like a cohort, right? When a cohort, it's easy to sell, I like to say, because you have the cohort starting on X date, and you're actually going to close enrollment at some point. And, people are going to miss out if they don't join by X date, right? You don't have that with it, right?
Urgency's there
by definition, but with a product like Distribute or any other SaaS or like evergreen digital product, you don't have that baked in. So you have to essentially engineer it artificially. And so a good way to do that is to do either expiring discount or an expiring bonus. But the way you make it actually expire is with this tool called Deadline Funnel. Deadline Funnel creates like a personalized deadline for each subscriber that's going through your sequence. And so right? So by the time, because if you try to do like most countdown timers in like most email marketing tools, they're tied to a actual date, right? Like tomorrow, 5 days from now. And if you're doing an evergreen sequence, you cannot use or cannot rely on those timers or those deadlines, because you have people coming into your email course at different times of the year and the month and the week, right? So how do you solve that problem? Using a tool like Deadline Funnel, you can essentially create a personalized deadline for each of your subscribers, right? Say you subscribe today. By the end of the week, you start to receive the sales emails. And by the time the sales emails start, your your personalized deadline funnel deadline starts as well. And before the deadline ends, you're gonna receive those emails, and the link with the offer, like the special offer that you're giving people, are gonna work perfectly. But when the deadline ends and you click on those links, you're gonna be taken to a page that says, "Hey, sorry, your offer expired." I was for real.
Oh yeah, this is crazy.
Does that make sense?
This is a cool tool. Yeah, and an integrate. Yeah, no, it makes sense because it's like it just basically creates a personalized link,
right? That has a personalized deadline. Yeah,
that has a personalized deadline, and interesting. And there's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes going on there, but that makes sense. So, and then when they get to your page, I'm guessing when they click on the link, is it a personalized page or something that they get on as well? Like when it is not expired, or
could. That's like more advanced, but in right, but in essence, it's that. Like the powerful thing is the timer, because if you don't have that mechanism, you're basically saying, hey, here's a special discount that will expire in 3 days, but in reality, the discount will never expire because your email marketing tool doesn't allow you to do that. Or you would have to manually create like coupons and special links for everyone, which is obviously not scalable.
Yeah. Interesting. I like this. I'm going to have to implement this. This is cool. Yeah, it'll say, hey, we're done. Like, sorry, it doesn't work. Interesting. I love that. Okay. Deadline funnel. Okay, so this is good because urgency and scarcity, right? How do we do that? This plays on the urgency side, right? Like, hey, sign up before the deadline. What are you doing to play on the scarcity side, right? Which is the obvious, like, hey, only 100 spots left is kind of the obvious one. But are there any other tricks that y'all are using or that you've seen work?
Yeah, that was a trick, especially like with digital products that are, essentially unlimited, and it's kind of hard to find a like genuine, real way to do it. And honestly, if it's not real, and that's one of the reasons why I like deadline funnel so much, if it's not real, like sometimes you might lose trust from people because everyone knows like your freaking PDF can be downloaded 1,000,000 times, right? Like
versus like a shirt that you only made limited to 100 because you could probably only make 100, right? Like that could be, it's a physical product, right? It's a little different.
So that's trickier, and full transparency, I haven't really found like a good like the equivalent of deadline funnel for scarcity. I haven't found yet, but like that's my take.
Yeah, unless you're truly only allowing 100 people into a specific cohort, then you can do that. Maybe another way is like some people do it with like, it's the same play. We're only allowing 5 clients. We're only allowing 100 people to join the course. That's the scarcity. Oh, this thing's only going to be available for 3 months. Right. Or we're only going to open this up once and then we don't know when it's going to be open again, this email course. Right. That could be it too. But I agree. It's definitely a lot harder with with digital products.
What you could do is have some sort of application process where you're essentially saying, okay, this is not for everyone. You need to qualify in order to get access to this product. That you could do at scale, even if it's a digital product. I feel like obviously you don't want to do that just for the sake of doing that and create fake, but that could be like a mechanism that you could use if, especially if you're doing like a higher ticket offer.
Higher ticket off. That's interesting. Next question. Shoot, everything we talk about always brings up a next question that I think is interesting, which is you have this free email course, right? Like, and you're pushing people. It's a free email course, lead magnet, let's call it. And then you're pushing people to a paid offer. What are the price differences in the offers that typically you've seen work with an email course? I know Ship30 is like $800. From clients you've seen and people you've seen, have you seen it work for things that are more than that, less than that? Or
that's a great question. So $800 definitely works. Slightly less. I've seen it work with like 200-ish, 400-ish products. That's perfectly fine as well. I would say even easier to sell, right? Because 7-day, highly valuable asset. Like after this, take my money, right? But I've also seen it work with. So, for instance, we have coaching. It's essentially a coaching program. It's a mix of coaching, education, and community, and that's about $5K. And on the front end, we use an email course to educate people on joining the program. So it works. Now the only kind of price range that I haven't personally experimented with is like below $100, but I have some stuff in the work some potential clients in the works that I might work with soon that have lower ticket products. But I honestly think, regardless of the price range of the offer, it can work. Obviously, the higher the price point, and like high ticket stuff usually requires like a more hands-on and like more prolonged sales process. So obviously, in the case of the coaching program that I just mentioned, that's not the only thing we do. That we also do other stuff. We have sales calls and other stuff in place, but on the front end, we still use the same mechanism to build that trust, to educate people and to prime them on joining when they're ready.
Yeah. So maybe the lead, like the email course, doesn't go straight to like a purchase page. It goes to like a landing page. It's like book the call, right? Like what the team, because okay. So the mechanism is still the same, but then where you lead them to from the lead mechanism is what changes. Is what it sounds like, right? Okay, interesting. What's the level from where you think, based on what you've seen, and this could always range, right? But where things need to start to take a sales call? Is that after like the $800 mark? Is that like in the couple thousand?
I would say
mark?
So. Based on my experience, I've sold programs up to $2,000 without any sales calls. Just doing like a lot of education, email course, and then like a couple sales emails with personalization and stuff. I would say probably between $2,000 and $3,000, depending on the type of commitment to. That's where you probably need to get more hands-on and get people on the phone and talk to them. Although there's also creators who kind of challenge that notion, and they sell like higher ticket stuff with just a Google Doc, and that's valid. Personally, I would say between $2,000 and $3,000, you probably need to at least have a phone call with someone to get them to work with you or buy your thing.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. People can find you
Twitter.
What's the best place? Twitter.
Twitter, LinkedIn, Daniel Bustamante. If you want to learn more about like email courses and how to level up your email marketing funnels, it's still, you're getting early access if you're listening to this, where it's still like in beta alpha, but we recently launched a newsletter called Funnel Breakdowns. So if you go to funnelbreakdowns.com, you can see it's basically me analyzing other people's funnels, like 6-figure and 7-figure creators funnels, and pointing out both the things they're doing good and the things they could be doing better, so you can learn from those people without like doing 20 hours of research like I do.
Nice. I'm actually gonna go sign up for that. Funnelbreakdowns.com. Hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome, man. Because a lot of people do that for like big companies, but for creators, it's interesting too, right? In that whole world. Cool. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Boom.
Later, bro.